Hello, my beautiful people. Today, we're doing core. If you stay till the end, there's a surprise. So be there. Hello, everyone. Today, this is what we're playing with. It's the QOR Sampler. It's a trio. It contains nickel azul yellow, PY150, quinacridone magenta, PR122, and ultramarine blue, PB29. Nickel azul yellow. And you can see how absolutely luminous this color is. The nickel azul yellow has a tendency of having almost a brown tinge in some other brands, I feel. But I think because QOR uses Aquazol, which is a very transparent binder, whereas Gum Arabic has a tendency of turning a little yellowish brown. And I have a feeling that might be one of the reasons this yellow, to me, in QOR it's almost clean. There's always a sense of almost dirt in other brands, but in QOR, I feel this color really, truly shines. So normally, I wouldn't use nickel azul yellow as a primary because to me, it always felt a little dirty, but this has convinced me. Honestly, kudos. Really, really a beautiful color. Quinacridone magenta, PR122, is also a very strong color. If you remember, and I think they still sell this set, the Intense, I think it's an Intense color set. It's 6 colors. It contains dioxazine, purple, quinacridone magenta, a nickel azul yellow, cobalt teal, transparent orange of some sort. I can't remember which orange it was. This trio contains 2 of those, and it's good because for a mixing sampler, having intense, saturated, as close to primary colors is really good. When it comes to the blue, you could probably choose different blues, but I'm really happy that they chose ultramarine. Quinacridone magenta can be very staining. Nickel azul yellow has some staining abilities too. If they had gone with a phthalo, we would have 3 very intense staining colors. They don't have the most granulating ultramarine, but it does granulate some. Ultimately, it works well because one, I'm gonna get very natural looking greens, and that's always good when you do plein air and you do landscapes and botanicals, and you'll get some texture, which is also great. So this video, I'm showing you how I mix my palette, but first, a very quick unboxing of when I got this mini haul that included this sampler set. It was basically an afterthought. I was getting a bunch of paper from a sales at Jackson's, and I noticed these paints for around $5, and I just added 3 to my cart. But just so you know, the original palette was this one. So what I did was I, of course, have the 3 main trio. And then secondary colors mixes. So yellow and blue, I have green. Yellow and magenta, I have deep orange, slightly reddish color. and then a purple. I debated for a while whether I actually wanted maybe a brown instead, but I just decided to go with the 3 primaries and secondary colors because that would work for me. And then, because I loved it so much, I didn't get just 1 pack of these. I got 3 at a time, and then I ended up getting more. But basically, I got 3 from the get-go. I knew these colors already. I already have them in QOR, and the price was insane. I bought mine, I think they were around $5 Canadian. And so I did a second one, exactly the same mixes. And then I thought, what if I do a third one where I am not mixing the colors, they're just the primaries. And then I thought, what if I'm able to fit, and I was able to fit a 4th small pan, and this is actually a brown. So I'll show you the brown, because at the original onset of this saga of mini palettes from this trio, I didn't swatch the brown, so maybe I shall do that now. Oh, this is so dirty. Oh, it wasn't. It was simply fog. Okay, so we are gonna try the color you don't see here, which is brown. So a mix of all 3 with more orange than a blue means I'm getting some brown. I probably will need to redo the swatches for this mini palette, but I probably look ridiculous doing this one-handed. We're gonna do the brown. Swatching the brown. Swatching the brown. I hate water brushes, but since all I'm doing is swatching right now, I don't want to dirty a brush for no reason. This is when I decided maybe I should try neutralizing this color into some sort of gray. As you can see, it wasn't as straightforward as I thought it would be. I had to add more magenta, and then more yellow, and then more blue, and then more blue, and more, until I got something akin to a neutral gray. And even then, it was a little too warm. One of the reasons you might want to mix a brown with the 3 colors, sometimes it's a little difficult getting the right tone quickly. So I am debating whether I should replace one of my mixes not the green. I would keep the green. Unsure if I would keep the red. I have a feeling I would want to keep the purple because I often use it to neutralize and for the shade. So the brown, and then I tried to make something more of a black, and it's still a little too warm to be black because it was either going into a very green territory with the blue, and I had trouble neutralizing it into a gray quickly. So if I were to do more urban sketching than landscapes, I would probably want to, instead of having a purple and an orange, I would probably go with making a neutral gray and a brown. So those are my two thoughts. Let's go back to the studio, which is basically my desk at home. So this is the range of colors. And I'm going to show you quickly some of the things I did in the last few months, in the last couple of months using these colors. So these were quick vignettes from May and April, where I just wanted to draw these and paint these from memory. Basically, all of the subjects I had done in person at some point doing plein air. And then I sat down and maybe an hour, I did this composition of, oh, you remember the bird? Try to remember how I drew the bird. The trees, the high grasses and the water. The broken tree. The crocus. The rhododendrons. They call it, it's a Stewardship of Japan. I don't know what type of tree it is because I keep forgetting what it is. Magnolias and a magnolia tree. And these were from the garden, so this is on Baohong Academy, the student grade one. It's lovely paper. It actually is not bad, but I do prefer the other paper, which is the Baohong Professional. This were all done with only those three pigments. The only thing was I was using burnt sienna, 50% Caran d'Ache Museum Aquarelle pencil to do the drawing. So the edges will have that pigment there. But other than that, it really was done with only those three colors. I used Baohong Professional 140 cold press. I make my own little sketchbooks and I like them really small now. I used to have the big thick ones, but they're so discouraging because you never get to finish them. All of these were done from pictures, so none of these were done from life. So this is a sunflower. At first I thought, am I going to be able to get the vibrancy from that Nicolazo yellow? And it is truly a wonderful color for sunflowers because I feel like I was able to convey where the sun is hitting and through the petals, and I can see because it was somewhat backlit in areas. So when the flower is backlit with a lot of sun and also going through it, it shines, right? And then it gets a little more shaded further down. And the only thing here is it looks very blue, but that's because it was a little difficult to get a very dark color and a very dark mix without the blue coming out, because blue, the ultramarine, granulates and has bigger pigments than the two other ones are very fine pigments, whereas ultramarine blue has thicker pigments. So the blue does come out, but at the same time, it's good because there was sunshine there touching it. And I remember trying to like get that line of sunshine going through, which I wasn't able to get through to the petals because ultimately I couldn't lift, but I was able to get that part. So I'm glad I did. And I like how natural these greens look. A magnolia. Then I wanted to see how I would be able to convey white flowers, but there was like the slightly off-white, yellowish white flowers. I forget the name of this, but it came out in the spring. I'll put the name of this flower. It's really cold. Flower. And I think you can see the details. The one thing I did here was use a Prismacolor off-white, slightly green. I have it somewhere at my desk. Give me a second. Yes. So this is the pen I used. Vert gris pâle, green, gray, green light. So that's the pencil I used to do some of the details. Then, of course, the irises. Spring really brings out yellow and purple blue flowers. My observation this week is that the yellow flowers are out. Daffodils, jonquilles, are out. There's some white flowers out. There's a lot of yellowish, white, very acid yellow flowerings at this time of year. And I noticed that in some of the blue. You see the blue? Do they call them bluebells? Out. So the cool flowers, cool blues, cool yellows are out. And I don't know if it has to do with the light probably, right? So if you like purple blue flowers, most of them I think come out in the spring. You won't find as many in the middle of the summer. A lot of the most delicate purple and blue flowers seem to come out in spring. So definitely I wanted to do some irises, and I really like the flower here, and I really like the leaves from this one. A perfect mix would have been this iris with these leaves. You can get some beautiful purples with this trio. Truly beautiful purples. And I like the greens too. Magnolia. So they were this really close to magenta with purple. So the outside of the flowers is very magenta. The inside was slightly lilac. So that's what I tried to convey here. This is a bud before it flowered of, I'm trying to remember if it's a prune tree. I think it was some type of prune or apricot tree. I'm not certain. So I'll put a picture and I'll put a name of whichever tree I got this bud from. And I was trying to show the light, but it's not the most successful. I like the colors. I just think I'm not sure if I conveyed the light hitting and shining through this area and this area. I also got really frustrating with the veins and just at some point was like, you know what, I'm done. And also I made a mistake. This leaf was supposed to be green. I tried to lift it and I couldn't. So I tried adding more green and then it got really... The good thing is it never gets really muddy because I only have 3 pigments in total. So it never really gets truly muddy. And finally, I did this one yesterday. Of course, it's a lily. And it's one of those hanging lilies. And I always find it so interesting that they have these little dots or freckles, you know, flowers with freckles. And I really, honestly, really enjoyed painting yellow flowers with this trio. I just realized I didn't paint red flowers because they're coming out at this time, right? There's a few peonies that are red, but they died on me and I didn't have time to go out and paint them, and I don't think I took a lot of pictures, so I'll have to look at previous years for pictures of red peonies. This trio does beautiful purple flowers, beautiful yellow flowers, really nice with natural greens, and magenta works well too. So I feel like I should try some red flowers to get a sense of whether it does that well or if I actually would need a good red. Now I did these the other day. These were actually done plein air. And this was, of course, the inspiration. These are peonies in 2 ways, but what I wanted to show you is this one. Just the layering of the lily pads. Because this is several layers and I painted negatively to get some of these shapes. I like how non-muddy the colors look, that I can layer them and layer them and layer them, and the ultramarine doesn't have so much granulation that it creates issues, but it has enough to give it texture. So I think with those two very transparent and staining colors, having the ultramarine instead of phthalo is really the right choice. That's where I'm at with this trio. I've done a few more, but like these are the main examples I wanted to show and share with you. If you're able to get this sampler trio from QOR, I would say get it. Because since Jackson has now several country-based websites, you often cannot get these the same prices. In the States, they were selling them for, I think, like $4 and something. And at the very beginning in Canada, the prices were around $5, and now they're $12 for the trio. $12 for a trio of 5 milliliters is not bad, because the average starting price for a 12 milliliter tube of QOR in Canada is probably around, I don't know, $17, $15. So I got a bunch. And I think now they are also limiting quantities per customer. I was able at the time to get several, and I got 3 at a time, and then I got more, because I think this is always going to be a very useful trio. I can leave one in my bag no matter what. I can put this in my other kit, and I have one at home, and I always have them ready to go. I just think it's wonderful. Now, and this is a thing, QOR is a color that runs. It just flows. And it has a tendency sometimes to flow in a weird pattern. So you can see how this one, the magenta, is the one that has that weird pattern in this trio, where it has a tendency of wanting to run in lines at times. I didn't have that issue with the nickel azul yellow, and I didn't have that issue with ultramarine blue. This one might surprise you. It requires you to have a little more control and or be a little more forgiving. If you want flat washes that are rich, you will have to work at it with the quinacridone magenta. All right, so those were my thoughts. That's it. That's all I wanted to share. Bad news, Canada, if you try and get it right now, it's like $12 or something. So I don't know. There's ways sometimes of tricking the system into thinking you're in another country and getting the pricing you would want. I was lucky. At the very beginning, when they started the different websites, the Canadian one still had some things that were, I think the prices were the original ones. I would say if you're not in Canada, that trio, get as many as you can because they're definitely worth it in my opinion. And if you're in Canada, you can always figure out whether you can cheat your way through it in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, that's it. That's all. I should get going now. Ciao. Okay, so here's a surprise. I feel so bad that all my Canadian peeps were not able to take advantage necessarily of the specials on the QOR. At the very beginning, the pricing was very low, and now the last time I saw it was around $12 for the trio. Because I got a few extra ones, I thought, Canada Day is coming up. Let's be a nice Canadian and give one away to a Canadian peep. So if you are in Canada and you follow me on YouTube and you follow me on Instagram, for the next 2 weeks until, let's say, July 14, I will collate it all together, do a draw, and there's going to be at least one winner. And if there's many entries, I might consider a second. And you need to follow me on Instagram because I will contact you through Instagram. So definitely in the YouTube comment, if you put in the word contest, 2, you put in your favorite flower painting that I did, and you give me your handle on Instagram. So I'm able to contact you through Instagram. I will do a draw and I'll, on the 14th, tell you guys who won. I'm only doing Canada simply because they're the ones that right now, the pricing on Jackson's is just not as much worth it as it is in the UK and the US sites. So I thought, let's give at least one of these trios away, and if there's more than, let's say, 15 entries from Canada, I'll give a second away. So yeah, that's it. That's all. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's just I feel so bad that the pricing is so different, and I really want people to try this trio out. It's definitely worth it. All right, that's it. That's all. Before I change my mind. All right, ciao.